I'm Adegoke Steve Colson, and this is my wife and musical partner, Iqua Colson. And we would like to thank Composers Now for inviting us to participate in this Impact series.
We want to introduce the first segment. I'm from Chicago. We met in the early 70s while we were each majoring in piano at Northwestern University School of Music in Evanston. I eventually changed my major to voice because singing is my real passion.
And I'm from Newark, New Jersey, which is on the East Coast. And I came out to Chicago to go to Northwestern University as a piano major. But I later added saxophone to that.
Newark by way of the great East Orange, New Jersey. We both had a love and an ear for what is called jazz or improvised music. Of course, in that period, none of the schools were offering that as a course of study as part of their curriculum.
No, it was not offered. It was not thought to be valuable enough as culture. But I was walking around the campus trying to get familiar, and I came across a poster, and it was advertising a quartet: saxophone, trumpet, bass, and drums. And I looked, I said, no piano. So I had been collecting records, and I had heard Cecil Taylor, and I had heard, John Coltrane and Ornette Coleman, and I was like, this is some new stuff. They don't have a piano player. So that's where I discovered it was Fred Anderson, Billy Brimfield, Steve McCall, who was the founder of the ACM. And he said that maybe I should start to investigate becoming a part of the ACM.
Well, Ade already had an ear for that since he was already listening to all kinds of music before coming from the East Coast. And we both ended up being voted into membership in the AACM in the early 70s. That organization is now in its 61st year with a roster of very distinguished composers, performers, who changed the face of music, it's commonly thought, and is the fact. But our composing can be heard in various size ensembles, large works, which he has done several. We like to work it in a quartet or a quintet when we're doing performances around.
So during this segment, we want to hear some of our pieces that are for the small group, improvising ensemble, and talk about our membership in the ACM.
We just released in the past few months a recording, Glow, Music for Trio, Add Voice. And so the first segment was done around that release. I grew up with Ella and Duke playing in my house. My dad's buddy was Nat King Cole. He was playing. Sarah, Nancy Wilson, Oscar Brown Jr. was in the neighborhood. I grew up with his kids. I mean, these were the sounds of the house. I was really into it, and I loved it, and I majored in music in college. But as far as finding direction, I remember Steve came from home with a small suitcase. And he opened the suitcase, Chico Freeman and I were sitting there, and out comes Eric Dolphy and Cecil Taylor, a whole different ilk of music. I was going to the concerts, I liked the community. Steve became involved. I thought to myself, well, this is a direction. What I like about it is they're looking at creating their own music. As Henry Threadgill said, love that music. They all studied it, but it's been done already. What are we going to do?
Yeah, that'll tune be a little bit faster, but that's. I came out in 1967 to go to school So I didn't know anybody in Chicago. I didn't know anything about Chicago. The ASM started because in Chicago, the club owners were looking for you to play more bebop style. So like Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie things. And the guys wanted to do a little bit more than that. So they started a collective, and I'm walking around on campus and I noticed a poster, and it's Fred Anderson, there's a trumpet player, Billy Blinfield, I didn't know those guys. And I'm looking and I'm like, well, they got a saxophone, they got trumpet, they got bass and drums, but there's no piano. So I would go back and tell the guys, because we had a student band that we put together, myself and Chico Freeman, a couple of other students. And I said, there's a guy that's playing like on that Coleman type stuff with no piano. And I'm gonna go check him out. Let's go check him out. And so sure enough, they were playing very progressive stuff. So I'm like, this is exactly what I'm looking for, you know.
In the process, also were creating their own environment for presenting music. I got involved with that, and because of that, learned a lot about producing, advertising, and that ended up transferring over to another skill set that I use in my future. But at the time, it was just a part of what we were doing. If so-and-so was playing, the rest of us were managing and making sure everything went well. Somebody else was playing, we did that. Then we started doing big festivals, involving and bringing people from overseas, and I was very much involved in that aspect. So in addition to music, you were learning independence.
The musicians in ASM, they were all kind of forward-looking, and but there was no one style. And guys would come in, and there was a period of time where if you wanted to present something, you would get up and show it on the blackboard, or draw a picture or whatever. And then we would also have just actual classes where there was a topic, and this is what we're going to talk about, or this is what we're going to read about. So it was organized, but it was very diverse. So there were compositional techniques that we'd be talking about. So maybe somebody is talking about Schoenberg, or somebody else is talking about Debussy. So you got a chance to experiment, because also there would be the membership could play the composition. So if you brought in a piece, let's say, okay, let's get the big band and see how it sounds.
Drums are a funny instrument. I don't want to start on the cymbals, which you're singing again, because sometimes it just drowns you out or takes away from you, first instrument. So what I played on the recording was bip, 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 bop, 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 and I played that rhythm on the bottom. Mm-hmm. And then I'll change it maybe when you get to letter B, bring it out. Right. Mm-hmm. So then I'll come back to the cymbals, maybe with you. All of us try to be the voice. That's really all of them on any instrument we play. We want to be the voice.
Well, that's because you're knowledgeable among men.
I've been ignorant too, I can't play what you play. I can't sing what you playing like that.
I never experienced that. Well, me.
I have. Well, I ain't gonna tell you.
I was one of the
that
people.
to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was one of the people who, when I met you, I was in awe. Because I've been listening to you all these years.
And as the darkness draws near, the midnight somber I fear will come alive, so enchanting, so nice.
I was teaching. Steve taught for about 10 years in Chicago. We knew we were going to move to Jersey. He was from there, and it put you in proximity to New York. When we moved there, I kind of said, well, let me pull out my degree and see if I can get a job in Jersey. And I started teaching, and I was working in the school district where he grew up, actually. And the year the New Jersey Performing Arts Center opened, Steve was commissioned, that day was commissioned to write an original piece in tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King for opening season. Someone said, can somebody come down here and talk tech with us? How things are going to be. And Steve was managing rehearsals and all of this. So he said, babe, can you go down there? And why do I know about this stuff? Because of the production we had started doing and the work we did. Even when they had me work with the Museum of Contemporary Art one year, who was going to do a festival of ASM artists. They said, Iqua, you work with the museum. And so I went down and did the same thing, that skill set, how we're going to advertise, what we're going to set up, so on and so forth. the superintendent in the district where I was teaching, he says, "Is that your husband doing this original, opening this big hoop-de-doo and down at NJPAC?" I said, "Yes." He says, "I would like to schedule a meeting with you." So we met in his office where he learned about all the other things we were involved in aside from teaching. And he pulled me from the classroom because he had a vision of developing 2 or 3 performing arts schools. And the first one had no particular, we didn't rename it, but it was a school of music. And he pulled me into that. But then they took the grammar school that Whitney Houston attended, and they developed that into an art school as well and named it for Whitney. Well, by now, he's got me as kind of the glue between the schools and the principals. And then we asked Cicely Tyson if we could name the middle high school after her. And she said, "Only if I can be involved." So we did that, but now we're working on new curriculum, which of course was part of what I knew as an arts educator. And then we got a grant to build a K-12 campus with a performing arts center. But what he found out was I knew something about advertising, about getting out to the community, that I knew something about putting together a production. And then of course we amassed a team of incredible teachers, all of whom brought different skill sets. But it really started in an unassuming way, working with colleagues to present original music in Chicago in that AACM context. And we've always had a protest or something because we're 60s kids. And you know, was a time where people were active. I had been active in high school. He was involved on his college campus, taking over the bursar's office. I mean, we were just those people, and our music reflected that. So usually there's something in the mix that is of that protest nature. But we were looking at what we were gonna do coming up for the album, and I had just written Atrocities, and it's talking about the atrocities that we're looking at almost every day. So I said to him, "Listen to this piece I've been working on." Now, he is the person who does massive scores, who knows how to run finale and all that. So I count myself blessed. I say, "These are my ideas. I want it to sound like this. I'll play something on the piano, whatever." And so he can actually score it for me based on a vision.
Again. Thoughts and prayers don't change the game. Can you list each murdered name?
Yeah, there's certain types of things. It's funny because music, it can be nonverbal, but there's still messages, and you can kind of pick up subliminal, or sometimes I guess for the musicians it seems like they're obvious, but based on the title or something. But sometimes it can be taken several different ways, you know, the interpretation. Oh, Glow is one of the early tunes that I wrote. It's actually written, I think, in the late 60s. And we played it in our band, we played it different places. And then I wound up with Andrew Surreal's quintet. And the guys liked the tune, so we played it in that band. And then actually Hannibal recorded it. But then some time went by and we started looking, well, what else can we play? Because we haven't recorded it ourselves. So we decided we'd put it on, and so we put on a couple of other older tunes and some newer tunes. So it's a mix, you know, but I think the title kind of is supposed to convey the idea of a warm feeling, a feeling of accomplishment or happiness, something of that nature.
Well, Glow is a piece that Steve wrote as an instrumental and encouraged me to put some lyric to it. The photo on the album is something our son shot one night as we were all in New York. And Steve and I were walking away and he was shooting and whatever. And that photo came out so beautiful and it's just kind of glowing with the lights and everything of the city. And so that's when we said, well, we're going to put glow on the album.
The next segment features Mirrors, which is performed by the International Contemporary Ensemble as a part of artistic director George Lewis's Composing While Black series, Composing While Black Volume 1. And the work is supported by a commission from the From Music Foundation. So I wrote the piece as a commentary on America, and hopefully you will be able to view the back and forth conflicts that I believe America exposes in its psyche and in its approach to how to organize this society made of human beings, what it means, and the, let's say the ifs or what could be's, and the desires and urges, and all of this is played out through the piece Mirrors.
As I look into this mirror, do I see beneath the surface? In looking, do I see mine eyes as they are? Do I see myself as I am, or are mine eyes false to me? False to me? Can every person look into my very soul? Shall I look askance and away, fearing they may have seen too deeply? For mine eyes are the mirror of my soul. And each person passing by, every passerby may see too deeply within my heart, and thus may see too deeply within my being. So in my fear, it has always been my urge to look away, look away, look away. And yes, some of them also turn away, each of us being a mirror. This to see ourselves in each other, but I see only fear in their eyes, even as I avert my own. Is
So that was Mirrors, and you can see actually the piece in its entirety on our website or our YouTube page, Silver Sphinx Media. The next piece was also done in collaboration with the International Contemporary Ensemble and the AACM. This piece I wrote for a smaller ensemble initially, and it's performed basically with the original instrumentation, which includes me and Ade. And in writing it, I was reflecting on balance. Balance is important in life, and life is a series of experiences, and through it all, we have to stay grounded. And I'm grounded through my family, my art, and those close to me. So Days Go By came out of that expression.
And as the years go swiftly by, I know the spirit lasts forever. And in this space I've occupied, I took the road without a guide. We move through time, space, fate, and will. It is the simple pleasures still that mark the years, that hold the best, so we can put aside the rest. The beauty of the seasons, the strength of family ties, the love that knows no reason, but without we just survive. Our journey finds a balance when a glow is centered from inside us. Heart, mind, and soul nurtured, and then as days go by, our does within.
This next piece, Speeches, is an excerpt from a large piece entitled As in a Cultural Reminiscence. And it's a commission that I received from the New Jersey Chamber Music Society. And it was to premiere and did premiere at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center in Newark, New Jersey. And I thought that I would ask two literary masters to join me in the commission because the center was going to open in Newark, and was born in Newark, and both of these people were born in Newark. So I went to Richard Wesley, the screenwriter, and I went to Amiri Baraka, the poet, and asked them to join me for the opening of NJPAC. And so they contributed text and I underscored it with the music.
This piece was done for the opening of the Art Center, and Amiri and Richard are really close friends and collaborators over many years. Of course, as we're doing this now, Amiri is no longer with us, but you will be able to see the piece that features these two literary masters on our website as well. This segment coming up is short and sweet, starting with strings and some other instruments, and then moving into basically voice and piano trio in an improvised passage. So enjoy speeches.
And again, we'd like to thank composers now.
We certainly appreciate the work you're doing to support composers working, writing, and performing now. Thank you for including us.